So this is how I can tell that Bella's definitely not ready. Zeus is very happily just lying here curled up right next to her. Nice and relaxed. He's not bothered, he's not fussing, he's not pestering her, he's not whining, there's no frantic panting, he's still eating okay. So these are all signs that you may get with an entire male dog when it lives within the household with an entire female that comes into season. Now some dogs will act very frantic and very obsessed from day one all the way through. It's pretty stressful for those dogs, unfortunately. Can't help but feel a little bit sorry for them. They're going to spend nearly 3 weeks very stressed out and very anxious to get their girl and make sure nobody else is near her and all of these kinds of things, and they'll go off their food. So you can imagine if a dog doesn't eat for 3 weeks straight, that's not the best. They can get very, very frantic with it as well. So we're very lucky in the case with Zeus that he really is only bothered in those sort of 3 or 4 days when Bella will ovulate, and he can sense those hormone changes in her urine and her discharge. He then knows it's time, and it's like a switch goes, and then for those 3 or 4 days he will be very panty, he will be very obsessive over Bella. If they're separated, you will hear him crying and whining and making his silly little turkey noises, and Bella will most probably be the same way with him when she's separated, if she's obviously not distracted with another boy. So he's obviously going to be a bit more wound up at that point. He's also going to go off his food a little bit, usually at those times as well. They quite often won't eat for those 2 or 3 days, which can be a bit worrying sometimes if they're dogs that don't hold a lot of weight naturally anyway, which both Zeus and Bella are always both on the lean side because neither of them are big foodies. They're not that fussed with food. They eat enough, but they're not really greedy, so they're never really carrying any extra weight anyway. So they're all things that can have a knock-on effect, which again is part of why it's good if you're never going to breed your male dog to get them neutered, because all they have to do is come across the smell of an entire female out and about in season. If she's done a wee at the park and they smell it, you can then have this behaviour for 2 or 3 days quite happily. If that dog's walked there frequently, then it may last for the whole length of that dog's season as well, which obviously isn't very fair on a dog that's never going to be able to do anything about it. And obviously it does put them at risk the older they get of testicular cancer and things like that as well. The chances go up as they get older. But it is one of the challenges was having mixed entire adults in the household. It does mean for those 2 or 3 days that sometimes you don't get much sleep because they are just warbling and crying for each other if they're in the same household together. So yeah, it can be a big upheaval for the boys as well as the girls. It's not all just fun and games for them, as a lot of people think with the boys. They do get quite worked up and stressed out as well. But not yet. They're quite happy.